Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Celente with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Celente. It's Thursday, April 28th, 2016, and here is some of today's trends in the news. Well, wasn't such a good day over there in Japan. Nikkei down 3.61%. Shanghai just a little lower. Hang Seng up a little bit. Europe kind of like that. Here in the States, not a good day. Mr. Dow down over 200 points. Gold, boop, up nice over 18 bucks. And oil moved up. Whoop, wait a minute, that can't happen. It must be a mistake because they've been telling us for how long? As oil goes up, the markets go up. But what? They made that up, so we'll forget about it. So, what happened? Let's look at today's Financial Times, reporting on what they expect to happen today. Expectations run high of more BOJ easing, Bank of Japan. Yep. That view appears to be shared at the professional end of the investment spectrum. In a survey Nomura Securities conducted last week on its global client base, some 60% said they expected the Bank of Japan to announce additional easing this week. Well, they were wrong. Everybody expected it, virtually. All the media was expecting the Bank of Japan to come out with more quantitative easing and or lower negative rates. They did nothing. The markets reacted violently in Japan. But here's something interesting. Remember, they announced it today, Thursday. The Bank of Japan's announcement is expected, now this is what I'm reading from that same article, is expected about noon today and will leave fewer than 3 hours of equity trading before Japan effectively shuts down for a 9-day run of Golden Week, national holidays, punctuated by 2 trading sessions. That's it. All right? They dropped the bomb and closed the markets. Yeah. So, they got time in there to do some repairs. Maybe they'll call in China's national team. They're not that far away. Or we could go to the Plunge protection team here in the USSA. So you can see what's going on over here. The Bank of Japan became the latest central bank to throw markets a curveball, suggesting one move, and in this case, delivering no move at all. No action. That surprised the markets, just as Kuroda surprised his negative yields back in January. The Nikkei lost 3% Thursday, and the yen rallied hard amid an immediate sell-off. The Japanese have once again chosen a path of economic suicide. This is according to David Zervos, Chief Market Strategy at Jefferies. The state of Japan's economy has been worsening as the world's third largest economy grapples with deflation, slowing growth, deteriorating consumer confidence, and an accumulation of high debt. So, the Bank of Japan chose a path of economic suicide by what? By drinking more poison? Mr. Zervos? The central bank scams aren't working. This goes back to what? 2012 that they've been trying to do this? With all this stimulus? It's not working. The Nikkei is down 12.4% this year. The Japanese yen keeps getting higher against the dollar. Everything they've done is failed, but they want to do more failure on top of the failure that they've already failed at. So, here in the States, let's see why the Dow went down. Well, they say some of it had to do with Japan, but a story that didn't make a lot of news here in the States. U.S. economic news, the first quarter U.S. GDP advanced read was 0.5%, the slowest pace since the first quarter of 2014. Consumer spending increased at a 1.9% rate, the slowest since the first quarter of 2015, and down from the fourth quarter's 2.4% rate. Why, what would President Obama say about the GDP only advancing 0.5%? Let's listen.
Anyone claiming that America's economy is in decline is peddling fiction.
And some other economic news. Alarm bells are ringing over corporate debt and stalled earnings. Andrew Lapthorne of Societe Generale says the reality is that, quote, U.S. corporations appear to be spending way too much, over 35% more than their gross operating cash flow, the biggest deficit in 20 years of data. It goes on and on. U.S. companies have bought back $182 billion of their own stock so far this year. Of course, that's what's been keeping the market up. But guess what? It's barely half of the $354 billion they bought in the same period last year. They're running out of dough. Homeownership rate falls to third lowest on record. That's right. The Commerce Department reported that ownership rate fell to a seasonally adjusted 63.6% in the first quarter, making it the third lowest figure since the 63.5% low the second quarter of 2015. The ownership rate was 67.8 in the quarter when the U.S. entered the recession. The Great Recession, the Panic of '08. Here's some more data. Overall, S&P 500 earnings so far this quarter are down 8%. What would President Obama say about that?
I told you earlier, all the talk of America's economic decline is political hot air.
Ah, yes. From the man that's been blowing political hot air ever since he stopped being a community organizer that organized guts in Chicago, he knows what hot air is. That's right. Obama's peddling fiction, not Celente. We've been putting down the facts. We've been calling this whole thing a fraud since the fraudster-in-chief and the other ones before them came up with their quantitative easing, zero interest rate policy, and all the other policies that have given 95% of the wealth since 2009 to their favorite 1%. It's hitting everybody. Carlyle profits plunge as sluggish deal exits bite. Profits at Carlyle fell by 4/5 in the first quarter, with the Washington-based firm joining other big U.S. private equity groups and reporting a slowdown in existing deals earlier this year. Deals. That's all it is, deals. Thanks to Bill Clinton and all the rest, and Obama and all the rest of Bushes, that made this country no longer a country of land of opportunity, a country where they changed the deck shuffle it up, and give it to the deal makers. And guess what, folks? We is dealed out. That's right. We're dealt out of the game. Zero and negative interest rate policy is a war against the little people and the savers. Carlyle post-tax economic net income, a measure of profit including unrealized gains on investment, slowed to $58 million in the year's first 3 months versus, you ready for this? $260 million in the same period last year. Oh yeah, that ain't peddling fiction. Those are real numbers. Carlyle, the other big deal maker, I do believe in general that there will be a day of reckoning unless we get fiscal stimulus. That's right. You don't have enough dough, huh, Carly boy? All you deal makers make nothing other than deals. Don't produce a thing other than more dough for you and less for us. I says more stimulus. Yep. The famed investor has voiced a bearish opinion before. Investor, gambler, telling CNBC that the markets looked way overpriced, and they are when you look at the earnings. It's not an assumption. So gold went up. How come? Because the dollar's going down. They don't expect interest rates to go up. The lower the dollar goes, the higher gold goes. End of story. And so gold's up now 17% on the year. And oil prices. This is the reason why they're saying oil prices are going up. The rally, partly driven by a 6% drop in the value of the dollar this year, has persisted despite U.S. crude stockpiles growing to an all-time high above 540 million barrels. While U.S. oil production itself has fallen, imports of crude into the country have risen, and a global oversupply looks set to grow as major exporters from Saudi Arabia to Russia and Iran ramp up output. So why are they saying gold prices are going up? Because the dollar fell 0.5%, sliding for a fourth day in a row, and to a week low against the basket of currencies. Declines in the dollar tend to make commodities dominated in the greenback, including oil, more attractive to holders of the euro and other currencies. Baloney. This is a supply and demand issue. It's different than gold. Oil woes start to hit home. Shows all the jobs that are being lost and all the delinquencies in credit cards, in mortgage payments, in car payments, in areas where they pump a lot of oil. And just on to some other news, to look here at the presidential reality show. You know, Donald Trump came out yesterday and he made a statement regarding his foreign policy. Our goal is peace and prosperity, not war and destruction. This is the first candidate that's mentioned those words. And you know me, I'm no Trump supporter. The best way to achieve those goals is through a disciplined, deliberate, and consistent foreign policy. We want to bring peace to the world. Too much destruction out there. Hey, does Trump really mean this? Or is it just...
That was bullshit.
We'll see. Because here's the deal, everyone. Everyone listening, especially you people that believe in Trump, tweet him. Trump, if you support peace, you'll support occupypeace.us. That's right, Trump. Is it just trumpeting out hot air? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is? Occupy peace, Trump. Or save it for another day. This is Gerald Celente, and that's some of today's trends in the news.